Sorry about that. So now we got to talk about the Constitution really quick, which is a big deal. So if you look down, what we're looking for here is Enlightenment principles, the compromises, how it improved upon the Articles of Confederation. We've basically done most of that at this point. But if you look at the review guide, I'm going to go straight through the review guide in this case. So first off, we got to know the compromises. So representation. For representation compromises, we had the Great Compromise, also known as the Connecticut Compromise. It was from Connecticut, which said we're going to have again, you got to use the language, bicameral legislature, two houses. The House will be proportional or based on population. The Senate will be equal, two per state. Okay, there we go. Executive power. The choice here was one president with the executive power, 4-year term, selected by the Electoral College. And originally, the state legislatures chose the members of the Electoral College, and then those people chose the president. And we'll talk more about it when we get to the different branches of government, but they basically would vote for two people. They would cast two votes, and then the top two vote getters overall would become the president and vice president, respectively. Ended up changing that and electing them on a ticket together. And then also over time, more and more all states now, they give all the Electoral College votes to the candidate that gets the most votes from the state. But originally, it was a very indirect election. One thing on the projects that people messed up was direct democracy versus direct election. So direct democracy is where all the people make laws and policies together and vote on things. Direct election is where you directly elect the person. So this is an indirect election where you're electing your state legislators. They're picking Electoral College members. The Electoral College is picking the president. So it's very, very indirect, at least the way it originally was. Issues regarding the enslaved population. So the big one that you know from probably history class as well is 3/5 Compromise. Said enslaved peoples would count as 3/5 a person for representation. They don't get to vote. They can't hold office, but for purposes of representation, enslaved Africans is who they're talking about here. They don't say it specifically, but would count as 3/5 a person. The other thing, too, is they did include a fugitive slave law without saying it in the Constitution, and they also said the transatlantic slave trade would end by like 1807, I think is when they said. Yeah, 1807. This one we didn't talk about, but the Federalists and Anti-Federalists, the last thing, the big thing to ratification was having a Bill of Rights. Would there be a Bill of Rights that outlined the rights of the citizens? And they said there would be a Bill of Rights, and they passed one after the Constitution was ratified. They passed the first 10 amendments, which are the Bill of Rights, which we'll get to during our Civil Liberties and Judicial Branch unit. Okay? We need to know well, let's check this out. We got our modified Constitution, correct? So, where is it? We had the Constitution scavenger hunt, which is helpful. You turn that in, unfortunately, but you have your modified Constitution here. So let's take a look. Article 1 is the legislature, the lawmaking bodies, the Congress, legislature, legislation, lawmaking. Article 2 is going to be your executive. Where is it? Executive, the presidency. Okay. Sorry, I'm showing you. I know what these are. I'm just showing them to you. Executive, president. Executive is to execute, enforcement. The executives of a business, for example, the chief executive officer is the person that runs the company. It's basically what the president does. They run the company of the United States. This is the judicial power. The judges, judicial, adjudicate, courts, interpretations of laws. Judicial review is a power of the judicial branch, the ability to declare laws unconstitutional. It was not written out in the Constitution, and it doesn't become an expressed power of the judicial branch until 1803 with Marbury v. Madison. However, historically, it was kind of implied that courts had the power to declare laws unconstitutional if there was a written constitution. So it's not like they staged a coup or anything, but it's not specifically in the Constitution. Article 4, I'm going to get out of these so that I can better to you, okay? Article 4 is relations among the states. So states have to give full faith and credit to the rulings of other states. This is mostly meant for criminal laws and judge decisions. Rights of citizens, if you're a citizen of one state, you're a citizen of the whole country. If you pass to another state, you have the same rights. Adding new states, the guarantees of rights to the states. So these are relationships among us or amongst us, okay, among the states. All right, we learned about several principles. I don't need you to be an expert on all of them, but you should be able to consider how these principles are demonstrated in the Constitution. So I gave a few different examples. Popular sovereignty is through voting, elections, specific rights forbidden to the government, as well as reserved for the people. You can find different examples of those throughout: voting for the House of Representatives, voting for state legislators that then choose your Senate and your president. Again, originally in the Constitution, now it's more popularly sovereign. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Saying that the government, like if you look at the Constitution right here, it says like there are powers denied to the states, but there are also powers denied to Congress. So they're literally saying these are the powers that we don't have. So they're actually giving powers away from themselves. Limited government, again, separating the powers. You've got federalism as an example, the fact that we have state and local governments. Powers denied to the federal government are in there. Okay. Separation of powers. Easy one is we have 3 different branches. We also have federal versus state and local. Yeah, those kinds of things. Checks and balances. That just means one branch of government should be able to limit the other branches of government. So you've got a lot of these ones. You can see them kind of built in here. For example, the one I like to do is look at powers of Congress and then how they also show up in the presidency. So, for example, where is it? Passing laws. They have to pass laws, but also the president can sign it or veto it. And then also the House and the Senate can then reconsider it and override the veto. A lot of these things are decided by Congress, like declaring war, having an army, determining the post office, but then they are run or they are executed by the president. You've got impeachment. It says that somewhere in there. Here it is, impeachment. The Senate has the sole power to try impeachment. The House has the sole power of doing impeachment. It says that somewhere in here. The House of Representatives shall have the sole power of impeachment. Then it's separated out. The Senate decides to try the impeachment, and then they can impeach other parts of the government. Powers denied to the states, a variety of different examples of that. Federalism, again, is state versus national government. It says that there's federalism all over the Constitution, with powers denied to states, the relationship between the states, powers denied to the federal government, powers given to the states. And then judicial review is the idea that like we have a judicial branch that interprets the laws, okay, and it's independent of the other branches, specifically in terms of it acting, okay? And that's one reason they don't have terms or term limits, was to try to take the politics out of it. Some people are kind of feel like that's kind of run its course, and maybe it's time to have term limits on the judicial branch, but that would require a constitutional amendment. So anyway, that's it. I think if you have questions, can you I would prefer if you put it in the announcements and questions channel of Teams. So I have a post there for it. That way everybody can see it and I can answer it instead of just emailing me. But if you have any questions, let me know. I did cross out some parts of the unit guide because we didn't get to it. I'm not going to test you on things I haven't taught you. So that's that. And hopefully we'll see you later, and have a good night, evening, day, whenever it happens to be in your world. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel and keep those likes higher than those dislikes.